Good afternoon. No, it's not afternoon. It's good evening over here. And over here it's 11 p.m. That's CEST, European Standard Time. So it's late at night for me. And today we are going to do something different than that we usually do. But let's first start the show. Welcome back. Let's see. This week was the week of Microsoft Build, and so my plan is to do something completely different. As we are waiting for the pull request to be processed by Microsoft, I registered at the Build conference for a Build challenge, and I have to find my little mail for that. Let me show that to you. Let's move to the coding window. Show you this. Oh, should make it bigger. Where is it? Where did it go? I lost it already. Oh, it's behind this. There you go. So I registered for the Microsoft Build Cloud Skills Challenge, and that's some sort of a teaming match, challenge where you can see I'm on Team Kai, whatever that means. And what do we need to do? We have to log into Learning. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you can all read it. There you go. Log in to Learn using the account that I used for registering the Microsoft Build Cloud Skill Challenge, and then complete one of any collections below. And for today I decided to go for the languages and frameworks. Let's copy that link. It said copy the link, but the link's not working. Oh, it's in a different screen. There's this one. Copy and move that over to me. Developer machine. Open it. So this one, the collection is languages and frameworks, and the first module in this is build a web app and build Blazor WebAssembly and Visual Studio Code. Should take 45 minutes, and there are some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items to go, and all this has to be done before June 8th. And what I try to do is completing all these collections, not only the languages frameworks, but also the other one. Like, where is it? I need to find it again. Where is it? My little mail here. Also the Azure DevOps, Extend Microsoft Teams, Power Platform, and Azure Serverless. So maybe that's interesting. This is 4, 12, 17, well, 12, 22, 28 modules, and this has to be done, I think, before June. Oh, June 2. Wow. June 2, that's what are we now? 22 May. 10 days. to do 20 modules, so we need to do at least 2 modules a day. Let's start with the first module, and that's build a web app with Blazor WebAssembly. Now in the developer machine, let's start the show. Build a web app with Blazor WebAssembly in Visual Studio Code. Learn how to set up a development environment, and let's make this bigger again. Build your first WebAssembly app with Blazor, Visual Studio Code, and C#. We already did it several times, but it's good to learn and divide this in separate modules. So I can also split this one and put it on YouTube, specifically explaining how to build a web app with Blazor WebAssembly and Visual Studio Code. What do we need? Basic knowledge of the web app concepts, a C#.NET experience at beginner level. That should be able to work. So let's go in and start. Introduction. Blazor enables C# developers to leverage their existing skills to build client web applications with C# and .NET. Imagine you're building a client web application and you already have a talented team of .NET developers, as well as you have the option of deploying your web app as progressive web applications, so your users can download the app and use it offline. Blazor allows developers to build front and backend logic for web apps with a common development language, frameworks and tools using the same language for front and back-end code can accelerate app development, reduce the complexity of the build pipeline, simplify maintenance, and enable developers to understand and work on both the client and server side code. Learning objectives. Configure a local environment for Blazor development with Visual Studio Code. Create a Blazor WebAssembly project. Erase a page to a Blazor project. It's adding a Razor page. Add a client-side logic to Blazor Web. Now, this is what you already said that we needed. What is a Blazor WebAssembly? Commonly, companies building WebAssembly hire developers for variety of roles. Some developers create backend server-side logic, and others may build client-side web app. Often these developers use different development languages and technologies. C# and .NET is a popular choice for building server-side logic, but client-side apps are often used built using web UI frameworks, commonly using JavaScript. Using multiple languages and tools sets requirements multiple skill sets and often requires hiring 2 separate teams as well. Code has to be transferred and represent data needs to be built in both languages and kept in sync. We'll start with with an introduction to Blazor and explore Blazor WebAssembly. What is Blazor? Blazor is a web technology that lets you build client web applications using C#. Blazor is a feature of ASP.NET Core framework that allows developers to use .NET tools and libraries to build web apps. Blazor apps are composed of reusable web UI components built using C#, HTML, and CSS. It enables developers to build both client code, both client and server code with C#, allowing to share code and libraries between with both the front-end client and the back-end logic. Using C# for both can simplify sharing data between the front-end and back-end, enable code reuse to accelerate development, and simplify maintenance. Blazor can be used to generate server-side code that handles UI interaction over a WebSocket connection or client-side web app that runs directly in the browser via WebAssembly. What is WebAssembly? WebAssembly is an open standard that defines the portable code format for executable programs designed to run in web browsers. It's a textual assembly language with compact binary format built for fast downloads and near-native performance. WebAssembly provides a compilation target for languages such as C and C++ and Rust. It's designed to run alongside JavaScript, allowing both to work together. It can also be used to generate progressive web apps, PWAs, that can be downloaded and run offline. What is a Blazor WebAssembly? Blazor WebAssembly allows developers to run .NET code in a browser. That's what we already said. It's a single-page application framework and uses the WebAssembly open standards without requiring plugins or code generation. .NET code is executed via WebAssembly in the browser, runs in the browser's JavaScript sandbox. It includes all the security and protection that the sandbox provides to help prevent malicious actions on the client machine. Under the hood, Blazor uses a .NET runtime compiled to a WebAssembly module that is downloaded with the app. The module is able execute .NET standard code. That should be the module is able to execute .NET standard code included your Blazor application. Blazor WebAssembly apps are restricted to the capabilities of the browser that is executing the application, but can access full browser functionality via JavaScript interop. A long story. Blazor WebAssembly supported browsers. WebAssembly requires a modern the desktop or mobile browser. The following browsers are currently supported: Microsoft Edge, Microsoft and non-Microsoft Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, and Safari. So that's a lot of Chrome and Windows and Mac as well. iOS and Android. Blazor WebAssembly development requirements. The WebAssembly application can be built using this twice the same text. Wonder if we can edit this in GitHub as well. There are some typos in the text. Using the latest versions of Visual Studio 2019, Visual Studio for Mac, Visual Studio Code, in this module will be focusing on Visual Studio Code. Regardless of your development environment, you need to install .NET Core 3.1 SDK. With the SDK installed, you'll have everything you need to start building Blazor apps. You'll install all of the requirements to build Blazor WebAssembly with Visual Studio Code in the next exercise. And the next exercise is next. Exercise. Configure your development environment. Most likely you have already a lot of this in place, but that might be a time saver then. In this exercise, we're going to install the tools and components needed for Blazor WebAssembly client app locally using Visual Studio Code. This exercise assumes you already have Visual Studio Code installed, and we have. You can download Visual Studio Code for free for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux at this link. Install the tools and templates. We start with downloading .NET Core SDK. It includes the .NET Core SDK, .NET Core Runtime, ASP.NET Core Runtime. Install .NET Core by downloading the latest version at this link. Shift click. And there we have 3.1.4. Let's quickly go into the terminal and check .NET. I think it's list SDKs or something like that. List .NET net list that's the command. That should be something like this. Now let's quickly Google this. Google list.net core SDKs installed. If I could type, that would help today. Check installed versions. And this was what I was looking for. .NET -- list SDKs. .NET -- list SDKs. So what do we have over here? And what do we need? Exercise tells us to .NET Core 3.1. And what do we have? 3.1. And we have 3.14. SDK 31300. 31300 preview. Okay. Well, let's do this then. Install this. Run. It's safe, but I want to run it. There we go. Scanning for viruses. Let's quickly go over to the instructions. They just say install it and nothing else. Open file. There we are. Install. Yes. This should be the long-term support version, I think. C.NET SDKs for Studio. You can see it, 3.1 long-time support. Version 31300. I had a preview installed, but we can get rid of that later on. For now, just install 31300 according to the instructions. It will, by the way, give us the core runtime 314. That's interesting. Close. So now let's check again. And now we have 31300. Yes, there we are. Nice. Next step. Install Studio Code extensions. We need to install 2 Studio Code extensions to develop Blazor WebAssembly applications, Microsoft C extension and JavaScript debugger extension. Install C# with Studio Code extension. Let's start code. And go to the extensions. My guess is that I already have them installed. Search for C# or Visual Studio Code. C# or Visual Studio Code. And it's already installed, so we're good to go. Powered by OmniSharp. Install the JavaScript debugger extension. Search for JavaScript debugger. Now the question is, install JavaScript debugger nightly. JavaScript debugger nightly. I think that's this one. Yes. And that's also installed. This nightly version extension for early feedback testing. The extension works best with Visual Studio Code Insiders. Yeah, that's not in the instructions, so we are using the normal version. Configure the JavaScript debugger extension. Open the extension browser by clicking the extension left. Find the JavaScript debugger in the list of enabled extensions. And it's already enabled. Open the extension settings by right-clicking and select extension settings. No. Should be a filter somewhere here. Show installed extensions. There we are. JavaScript. Right click this the settings thingy. Right clicking and select extension settings. Extension settings. Yeah. Scroll and find debug JavaScript use preview setting. JavaScript use preview setting. Use preview. Check the new in preview JavaScript. Use the new in preview JavaScript debugger for Node.js and Chrome. Let's get rid of the terminal. There you are. No. Oh. So how do I check this? By enabling, maybe? Oh, it's just true. Save, maybe. Close. Now let's see if it changed. No, it did not change. But I guess it doesn't reflect in the UI for some reason. Use preview. No, it's not showing the checkbox, but if you do this, maybe I need to reload it. Let's close this and open code again. Extensions. That's the one. Debug. There's no way to check or uncheck this. Not sure why. So that's a little bit different compared to the instructions. We can close this already. And we close this already. At least we changed it in settings. Create a new Blazor WebAssembly app. To validate our setup, we'll make a new Blazor WebAssembly client web application using the installed template. Open a terminal or command as well. We have a terminal over here, and let's make a subfolder for this first. Make directory build challenge. E1. Build challenge. And probably creates a new subfolder underneath that. So .NET, new Blazor wasm. O CICALC. There we go. Find out what's new. .NET, what's new? Already done. Let's make this side by side, maybe. That's what we did. From the command prompt terminal, run .NET, run. Oh, yeah, we have to switch directories first. That's what I guessed. CI calc .NET run. Let's wait for it to complete. There you go. Now listening on port 5001. So now we have to go to HTTPS local host. And not 3000, but 5001. There we go. And there it is. Friends of the show. Well, that's looks quite somewhat alike, but the menu is over there. But that's because I made this a little bit smaller. Control 0. No. What's this? What? Let's make this a little bit bigger. There you are. There's the menu. It's big enough to blow it up. Return it to terminal in VStudio Code and press Ctrl C to stop the application. We did not do that in terminal from VStudio Code. So let's do that over here. Close the application again. Go back to, because that's a mismatch in the documentation, because they just said over here from the command prompt or terminal. Yeah, you could interpret the terminal as the one in VStudio Code, like this. When you go to the project code, let's see if there's something in there. Code dot. There we have, for instance, the index.html, and Control tick brings the terminal. .NET run. Let's see if it runs from in here as well. And let's install the C# extension. Yes. Same thing should be running. There we are. Same thing. Take that out. From the command line, that's what we did. Return to terminal in VStudio Code and press Ctrl C. We'll use the Blazor app in the following exercise. Ctrl C in VStudio Code. Done. Next to the instructions, Blazor components. Now that we have development environment set up, we'll explore the structure of the Blazor WebAssembly project. Let's see if we can do this as well. terminal a little bit smaller. The Blazor WebAssembly project. Blazor WebAssembly project targets .NET Standard, currently version 2. No. Is out the standard, yeah. Note Blazor WebAssembly apps are different than Blazor server apps, which are .NET Core projects. Blazor WebAssembly apps target .NET Standard because it runs directly in the browser on WebAssembly-based .NET runtime using Mono. It's not possible to install that .NET directly into a browser. Blazor WebAssembly entry point. The entry point for the application is defined in program.cs. That's in there. Let's see. Program CS, the program class is instantiated and executed at runtime, and its main method is called. That's interesting. I saw a presentation by Mats, someone, what's his name, where you can just remove the program and the main entry from this code. But that's C# 9, I think, next version. By default, the main project configures and creates a WebAssembly object that communicates with the WebAssembly host and loads the app Razor components. What is Razor? Razor is markup syntax for writing UI components in HTML and C# used in Blazor web apps. Razor is based on ASP.NET and designed for creating web applications. What are Razor components? A Razor file defines a component that makes up a portion of UI in the app. Components in Blazor are analog to user controls. Where are we? Analog to user controls in ASP.NET Web Forms. If you explore the project, you'll see that most files are .razor files. Let's have a look at this. .razor, and we have something in the root, probably shared code, more razor. Yeah. At compile time, each Razor component is built in a .NET class. The class includes common UI elements such as state, rendering, logic, and lifecycle methods and event handlers. Check your knowledge. Blazor WebAssembly apps are powered by which runtime? The runtime provided by the browser. The .NET runtime deployed with your web app. The JavaScript runtime. I should think. I'm really not sure. How's Blazor WebAssembly UI defined the Razor pages as a mix of HTML and C# as XAML, C# defined in .NET standard libraries. I should say this one. Yeah, this is not right. That's what I somehow expected. Blazor WebAssembly is run directly in the browser on WebAssembly-based runtime. So it should be this one. Yes. Continue. Sign into save project progress. Am I not signed in? Let's do this. Check and check. Check your answers. Let's see if it's me. Profile. Settings. User AF. Yes. Okay, I think we just skipped a page. Exercise, add a component. In this exercise, we'll add a new race page and create a compound. The compound interest calculator UI. Open the folder for the compound interest project that you created in the previous exercise. That's still the same one. Open Visual Studio. Open the project. Visual Studio Code may prompt you for and select yes, so that we already did that as well. Create a new razor page for your calculator. Expand the folders. Click Pages. And right-click Pages, New Files. And the new file should be called something like this. Pages. A new page. And then new file. And that's the name. Add the compound interest page to the app navigation. Open the compound interest razor. That's already done. And enter add page compound interest. Compound interest. Yeah. That's interesting. Add an H1 header. H1 compound interest. Something like this. And this should be page with a lower P, I think. Page, yes. Now that resolves quickly. Open the shared folder. Nav menu razor. Add the fourth list item with the href set to compound interest and the title of compound interest. So we have a list item. Copy this and enter a fourth item. Now 3. Save. Let's change this a little bit to make it a little bit more readable. Yeah. Optional, run the application. Well, let's see how this works. .NET run oh, it's already running. Let's run this. Let's take it out and make it full screen. Compound interest, we have a plus in there. Compound interest, there's the title. And back home, so everything is still working. There's the page. Okay. Add HTML UI. We'll add HTML UI for calculator. Specify the table, specifically a table. Add a 2x4 HTML table. Copy this. And where do we put this? In the UI, I think. Compound interest. Probably over here. Yeah. Below the table, add a button. To calculate. Optional, run the application. Let's do it again. Oh, it's still running. So if I save this, let's see if it's already changing the output. Compound interest? No, it's not. So we don't have hot reload then. .NET run. Now it should be up and running. Take it out again. Compound interest. There we have it. Table. Calculate is not doing anything yet. Continue. Data binding and events. Data binding and events. Now that we have the UI for the application defined, let's explore how we can add logic to the web app. In Blazor WebAssembly app, you can add C# code in separate CS files or inline in your Razor component. C# component behind files. In Blazor, we can add C# directly to our application like .NET projects. We call this code behind. Code behind is a common term for a technique of using separate code files to store application logic. Separate code are great strategy when your business logic is complex, long, or requires multiple classes and is best stored in more or code files. Okay, that's kind of strange language. For simple logic, we don't always need to create new CS classes inline components. It's common practice to mix HTML and C# in single Razor page component files. For simple components with lighter code requirements, this approach works well. To add code to a Razor file, we use directives. What are Razor directives? Razor directives are markup added to a component used to add C# inline with HTML. Directives allow a developer to define single statements, methods, larger code blocks, code directives. You can use add expression something to add a simple C# statement in line with HTML, or if more code is required, the add code markup allows the developer to add multiple statements and close parentheses. Code directives be familiar to developers who have used Razor in MVC or Pages. You can also add a function section to the template to add methods and properties that are added to the top of the generated class, which can be referenced to the document. Page directive, and that's an issue, I think, because that should be a lower caps, otherwise it's going to fail. Make this a P. Then it gives me a squiggly over there, so that's not right. Special markup component used to identify the components as page. This allows you to specify the route, a route on this directive, which then maps to an attribute route that recognizes by the Blazor engine to register and access a page. Razor data binding. With Razor components, you can data bind HTML elements to C# fields, properties, Razor expression values. Data binding enables two-way synchronization between HTML and .NET. Data is pushed from HTML to .NET when the component is rendered, since components render themselves after event handler code executes. Property updates are reflected in the UI immediately after an event is triggered. The bind markup is used to bind a C# variable to HTML object. You define the C# variable by name as a string in the HTML. You'll see an example of the data binding in the following exercise. Exercise data binding and events. Sure, there we go. In this exercise we added a C# logic to the compound interest Razor component. Open the folder compound interest project you created previously. Open the compound interest Razor that we already have. And below the table definition, add a code markup. And that should be, I think, below the button, in this case, add code, bracket, bracket, and it's already recognized. Add member variables for compound interest calculation, copy, put that in here. Well, it's already adding the code as well. We get this nice lens information that is not yet referenced by anyone. Add calculation logic. Within the code markup, that's between the brackets, and add the following method to calculate compound interest. Copy, and we put it in here as well. And I definitely need to install my prettier in here because I don't want to do this manually every time. Calculate total will be the principal with the interest calculation in here. Brings the total to string. Total is, in this case, a string value. Add binding to the input fields. Yeah, let's go to the input fields over here. Initial principal, that needs something like this. Copy, it's already there. And let's do the same for years. Find years. Make this interest rate. Total. This will give us the total amount. And that's recognized as well. Finally, we bind the calculate button. Using the on-click event handler, we already have the button in there. Button primarily calculate, so everything we need to add the handler there and bring that in to the button. Like this. Save it and run the application. Let's cancel this one first. .NET run. Visual Studio Code execute .NET run. Open the browser again. Take this out for full page. And go to the compound interest part. There we go. Use the calculator, try changing the input params and check the calculate button. Let's first do this. Gives you a total of 8,235.05. So what if we are going to save for 20 years? And the annual rate is a little bit high now, so let's lower that to 2%. Because that's more real life. Calculate. Only 7,456.64 cents when saving 20 years for 2% rate. Let's make that 3% rate and calculate again. That's much better. See the difference between 1% for over 20 years. That's huge. For that reason, the low interest rate that we currently have is not really beneficial for any of us. Continue. Summary. I think we are done. In this module, we set up the development environment to create and build a WebAssembly, Blazor WebAssembly web apps. Then we created a new Razor component, added HTML and C# to the Razor file. and used binding to sync user input to the calculator logic, you now can understand the fundamentals of building a Blazor WebAssembly app and can use your HTML and C# knowledge to build more complex web applications. And we should have done this in 45 minutes, I think, but we did it in 50. Unlock achievement. Plunk. There we are. You did it. You've earned a badge for completing build a web app with Blazor WebAssembly. Let's make a screenshot of this. Well, let's first make this 5 stars. Tell us what you think. Content is great. I like hands-on. I like the format. I like experience points and badge. Other. There are some small typos in the text, but other than that, it is fun to do. Plop. Your feedback is very important. Oh, darn it. I didn't create a screenshot of the achievement. So where are my achievements, maybe? Activity achievements. There you are. Okay, screenshot. Oh, screenshot. Copy. Okay, I will share that on the Twitter webs after the call. It's not a call, it's a live stream. Okay, let's go back to the items of the list. This one is done. And now we can close this. And we can close this one. Let's quickly have a small look to the code that we created. So what we did actually was create a page, a razor page, based on the directive page, compound interest. Put some HTML in there. And also some code below that. And with that we did bind the items over here with the code underneath. Running this will give you the we also did the added it to the menu so that you can actually trigger the page. You should be able to trigger the page also by putting compound interest in the URL. So if I go to this one and I just enter the last part of the URL, compound interest, it brings you to the same page. What's the about page? That brings you to WebAssembly. It's now released. Okay. Well, that's it for What's It Build Cloud Challenge. Episode 1. Build a web app with Blazor. Let's close this. And also close this. Now I need to find my mail again to see what's going on in here. It's probably already in the back of this. So we finished the first module of languages and frameworks. Multi-language application running AKS with AI embedded. Interesting. Let's see. There should be a leaderboard over here. Let's go to that quickly. We are Kai. Collection is completed 599. We are the lower part of the list. Come on, guys. We need more guys to do the Team Kai challenges. So the next one would be build a simple website using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But we will do that in a separate session. So for now, let's wrap up the live stream. Let's go back in the main page. So this was our first episode of building a cloud challenge. Next time we'll create a web page for the second challenge, and let's do it. Let's say tomorrow. I think Dutch time afternoon, so that might be in the morning for the US. We have a holiday tomorrow, so we can do that. For now, thanks for watching. I think what's the time right now? Almost 12 o'clock. So let's wrap up, and I'll see you tomorrow. If you like following these challenges, make sure you hit the follow button somewhere over there for Twitch, or the subscribe button over there somewhere, and hit the bell so you get notified if I'm going live again. So thanks for watching, and let's do the next challenge tomorrow. See you later, alligator. Bye bye.